Hello you guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. As we all know, 2025 is fast approaching, especially for me because in my time right now, as I'm filming this, Christmas is in like 5 days. So I thought it'd be the perfect time to sit down and talk about all of the books that I read this year that I ended up rating 5 stars. I feel like as a reader, every time we sit down and read a new book, you're just always on the hunt for the next book that you're gonna love and just be obsessed with. I have 5 books I'm gonna share with you guys today. Absolutely had the best reading experience reading them. Keep them near and dear to my heart. Think about them all the time. They're just books that I would highly recommend. So I hope that you guys will maybe find your next favorite read if you haven't read any of these yet. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Going in no particular order with any of these books, although I will say this was the first book that I ended up rating 5 stars this year, was Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I absolutely loved this book and it made me want to pick up more of her books in the future. I actually have yours truly somewhere on this bookshelf. This story is about Emma and Justin. I'll just read the back here. It says, when it comes to love, Emma is cursed. Every guy she dates finds his true love after they break up. Turns out she's not the only one afflicted with this condition. His name is Justin, and his Reddit thread about being love's good luck charm has gone viral. Now the two have come up with an ingenious plan. If they date each other, their curses will cancel out and they'll go on to find their soulmate. Only Justin wasn't supposed to be so unbelievably cute and hilarious. When Emma's toxic mother shows up and Justin has to assume guardianship of his 3 siblings, they're suddenly navigating a lot more than they expected, including catching real feelings. Has fate finally brought the perfect pair together, or will their cure be way more hazardous than the curse itself? I love that this wasn't just like another romance. I feel like with the romance genre, the plots, the tropes, everything, it can be really repetitive. I feel like with this, it was different because there's so much emotional depth to this story, and I really like the underlying plot that both the main characters kind of go through. It just really made the characters feel really real and relatable. They have such a healthy communication in here as well, which I feel like is kind of hard to find in romance books depending on what you read. And the quotes in here, the way that they just like treated each other. Chef's kiss, honestly, there was one that I wanted to read that absolutely made me melt. It says, sometimes the best way to show love or be kind to someone is to meet them where they are. That is so real because I feel like when you're going through life, like there's so much that can happen to you. You just are trying to do your best, you know, and be there for the people that you love. I really liked how the things that they were going through, like they tried to be there for each other and understand what each other needed. Would highly recommend checking this one out. On to the next book. The only other books I have a physical copy of for this video is Verity by Colleen Hoover. I believe I read this a couple months ago actually. This is more of a thriller book. This is the only thriller to my knowledge at least that Colleen Hoover has written. Usually she writes a lot of romance, as you guys probably know. This is one that my friend had given to me and it had been sitting on my shelf on my TBR for like at least a year and a half, and I just had never picked it up. I read this in one sitting, you guys. From the moment the story started to the moment it finished, I was just like speed reading. I was like, I need to know what happens, and I'll show you guys the inside of the book, but the text is actually pretty big size, so it was really easy to read, keeps you on your toes. This is the best Colleen Hoover book that she has ever written. I will die on that hill. Like, I really think if you guys like Colleen Hoover or you like thrillers, definitely don't skip this one just because it's a Colleen Hoover book. The ending twist, I was not expecting at all. It really got me, and I'm excited. I think I saw online that they were going to be turning this into a film. It's one of those endings where it kind of leaves an open ending to where you can interpret it one way or a different way. It wasn't scary per se, but I will say a lot of the things in here that happen are really messed up. Maybe check the trigger warnings before going into this, but honestly, 10 out of 10 reading experience. As someone who doesn't like reading a lot of like thrillers, I really enjoyed this one. Moving into the third book that I rated 5 stars. This one is actually part of a series. I ended up rating Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross 5 stars. I read that I think over the summer. I read Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows back to back. They are also available on Kindle Unlimited if you guys have that. These books are really popular on TikTok, especially at some point in time, and I feel like whenever I see books that kind of pop off and get like viral, unless it's something I'm really interested in, I kind of try to steer away from those because I tend to think that a lot of those books can be overhyped. However, after I finally sat down and read these, I was like, I think they're 100% worth the hype. I really loved the story, really loved the characters. I was like speed reading, could not put the book down. I'll kind of just read the summary for Divine Rivals because like I said, Ruthless Vows is the second book in the duology, so I don't want to kind of give anything away. No god, no creature, no war can come between them. When two young rival journalists find love through a magical connection, their fate depends on their facing the depths of hell together. After centuries of sleep, the gods are wearing again. All 18-year-old Iris Winna wants to do is hold her family together. With a brother on the front line forced to fight on behalf of the gods now, missing from the front line, and a mother drowning her sorrows, Iris's best bet is winning the columnist promotion at the Oath Gazette, where she works. But when Iris's letters to her brother fall into the wrong hands, that of the handsome but cold Roman Kit, her rival at the paper, an unlikely magical connection forms. Expelled into the middle of a mystical war, magical typewriters in tow, can their bond withstand the fight for the fate of mankind, and most importantly, love. This is an excellent enemies to lovers in my opinion, and you get the soulmates trope, you get the forbidden love kind of trope. I also really enjoyed how there are like these high up gods and then you have like the regular people who like live on earth, whatever. I tend to like that kind of a trope, I guess, in a fantasy. And this is also young adults. There's no spice in either of these books. They're very clean. I just think the story was so wholesome and so sweet. After I read Divine Rivals, I ended up rating that one like a 4.25 to 4.5. I remember writing in my Goodreads review, haven't read a book like this in a long time. I hadn't read like a YA fantasy that I felt so invested in that made me feel every single emotion that I couldn't put down. It kind of reminded me of how I felt when I read the entire Red Queen series. Like I was absolutely obsessed with it. I don't know. It was just really refreshing, I guess, when I read them at the time, and that's why I think I ended up rating the second one 5 stars, because obviously it's the conclusion to the story and obviously sad to like see it end. In relation to the second book in a series, the next book that I rated 5 stars was Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I'm sure we're not surprised here. I read Fourth Wing, I believe in 2023 or whenever it came out. I just truly believe this kind of fantasy just really stands out to me, and it's unlike anything that I feel like I have ever read solely because of the dragons that are in it. Fourth Wing is about, it takes place at this war college. I will say this book series is pretty good combination of Divergent and probably Red Queen or the Hunger Games kind of thing. It's very political and the books are like thick, thick, you guys. I think I read Iron Flame. It's like almost 900 pages in like 3 or 4 days. I just was eating it up. And I really liked how in the second one she brings in some new characters and there's a couple new settings, and I just think the way that she's developed the story has been really well done. I'm so excited for book 3 to drop in January of 2025. But it takes place at this war college and all of these students, kind of like how in Divergent there's different factions, all of the students have to go into like different colleges. And so the main character, Violet, her mother is the commander, I guess you could call it, of the dragon riding college, and so that's where she ends up going, and she has to kind of fight her way through and prove herself, and she ends up, you know, having a love interest and all of that, and the story expands from there. This last book, you guys, I read this very recently and I found one of my new favorite series this year. It wasn't a 5-star series for me, but I will hold these books near and dear to my heart truly because I just enjoyed them so much. It is the Belladonna series by Adeline Grace. I ended up rating book 3, Wisteria, 5 stars. Could not tell you how much I cried during this book because I was like uncontrollably sobbing. Usually I don't sob when I read books, but this one just like ripped my heart out, like stomp it all over on the ground. Like it was so good. I found a new book boyfriend through this book. I think it's the most romantic book that I have ever read, and I just already want to reread it. I loved it so much. The whole series is kind of like a gothic romance, and I had never really read that kind of a genre, so this was something new that I stepped into that I have discovered that I actually really liked. The best way to describe Belladonna is saying that's kind of like a spooky version of Bridgerton. The main character, Signa, she is a descendant from this very rich family. It kind of takes place in like the Victorian era, so there's a lot of like balls that they go to and like girls coming out into society trying to find suitors and husbands and things. Basically her entire family just like dies when she's a baby, and so she keeps getting shuffled back and forth between different family members to take care of her, and every single family member that she has ends up like dying for some reason. In this book, Death is like his own character, and so Signet interacts with Death a lot. She can see ghosts, she can talk to the dead, and you get to see her kind of balancing all of that stuff with also real life and then also her relationship with Death, and I just loved it so much. I just found the story fascinating. Book 3 is about a different couple, and this couple, absolutely loved it. I feel like as an enemies to lovers, like it was just so well done. It's so romantic, and also going into it you find out this very important piece of information at the end of book 2 that these two characters are completely oblivious to, like they do not know. And so as a reader, I just thought it was really cool going into book 3 being like, haha, I like know what the big secret is, but they don't know. So you're kind of getting to see them figure it out as you go, and you're like having this anticipatory excitement to be like, oh my gosh, when are they gonna figure it out? Like when are they gonna realize? Like you just like, you don't know, and it really keeps you on your toes, and I just loved it so much, if you guys can't tell. Book 3 in particular also has a very specific like hurt or touch my wife and you will die vibe to it, and I don't know why lately that just made me so giddy, and I've just really been enjoying that kind of energy in romance books. But that is it, you guys. I know that was probably a really short and sweet video because I didn't have too many books to share, but regardless, I hope that maybe you are leaving this video with a good book recommendation, and if you have read any of these, definitely let me know what your thoughts were in the comments down below. Spoiler free, of course. Let me know what were some of the books that you rated 5 stars this year, because as you guys know, I'm always looking for new book recommendations. I hope that you guys have a happy new year. I hope that you guys have a great Christmas. Hopefully I'm going to post this before Christmas. If I don't, I hope that you guys had a great Christmas, a great holiday season with all of your families, and I just want to say thank you guys so much for all of your support this year. Truly, you guys mean the world to me. So special. I love having this little community, and the fact that we just like get to bond over books and talk about books. I love it so much, and it means so much to me. So thank you so much for your support this year. I hope that you guys are having a great day wherever you are, and I will catch you guys in 2025. Bye guys.